Hello, one and all, and welcome back to League of Europe Season 7. This is the 16th, the penultimate round of the Division 2 Championship here at LOE Season 7. We have a cracking title race going on right now with just 6 points covering the top 3 and still 6 mathematical contenders. We will see how things continue to evolve here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Interlagos, one of the most iconic racing tracks in the world, will be the scene of the second to last round of the season. Now, to take you through the action tonight is myself, Daka, as always. Now, unfortunately, Verstappen, for once I must say, isn't able to be here. He is having a social life, which is strange for a league racer. But we are going to be joined, nevertheless, by, we'll say, someone that's just as good. We have Mr. Ariel Nathan. Nathan, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, he flattered me so much. Finally, Verstappen's gone outside. Hello everyone. Hello Dan. Excited to obviously be here for 2 seasons since the last Brazil race. Well, the last commentary I did here, and it was a very interesting title race. Obviously, this is now the penultimate race. I think it can actually be won tonight if Aiden or Commentalist has a good race. Obviously, he got the win last time. It was Canada, yeah. It was. Yeah. He did get the win at Canada for his first win of the season, even though he's been leading this championship from quite early on. Which I think, D2 this season is just been who can actually put some results together. Obviously, Larkin in the last 5 races, he's had 4 podiums, but still third in the championship. So I think these last 2 races will just be a free for all for at least the top 4. Obviously, with Kriko and Zaldemar a bit behind, it's still mathematically possible, but realistically it's just going to be one of the top 4 that will bring home the title.
Yeah, it is looking like that could potentially be the case, and even Gary somewhat on the fringes, but still very much in it. But we do have to, I guess, zero in on those top 3. Carmentalist, Timon, Larkin, 6 points covering them. Carmentalist 143, Timon next on 140, Larkin on 137. Each of the 3 are here tonight. Larkin is coming in on very quick notice, so we'll see what his performance is going to be like. Those 2 Alfa Romeos, of course, have rallied supremely in the back end of this season to chase down Carmentalist, but Carmentalist, of course, responding with the win last time out in Canada. Beautiful comeback win, it must be said, to put himself back on top. Of course, we do look for those other 3 contenders, although they are somewhat on the fringes of it. We do get in towards Interlagos now, and looking at the track itself, Nathan, it is one that, of course, is draped in history, particularly in title races in Formula 1. How do you evaluate this circuit then? Because I think on the game it's quite divisive amongst the drivers.
Yeah, I think obviously, as we know, there's a lot of pad tracks, a lot of wheel tracks, and a lot that have certain features that benefit pad and wheel. Obviously, this is a very pad and if you run the ABS assist, ABS heavy. So I think people like Larkin and Fireman, who both do run pad compared to Commentalist wheel, I think they will have the upper advantage. I do expect both the Alfa Romeos to either both be on the front row or at least in the top 5. But yeah, looking very dry, obviously, unless the weather gods at Brazil, which Brazil is known for its weather, so maybe in the race the heavens do open, but at the moment it's looking like a very dry session.
Yeah, and rain has been very minimal throughout this Division 2 season. It's really been a fixture of it. We had rain in the back end of the Grand Prix in Belgium, but really apart from that we haven't seen much. We have been spared a little bit by the weather gods, so to speak. We'll see, of course, how things are going to unfold in the actual race itself, but certainly no threat of rain in this qualifying session as they now look to hit the track for the first time in this session. So yeah, we mentioned how things looking in the championship. You mentioned Timon and Larkin, those Alfa Romeos, expected to perform well here. Carmentalist in the Alpine, maybe the expectations not quite so high, so we'll see how things are going to unfold as they now begin to head out on track. I can see in the pit lane Marnix has selected the intermediate tyres. I don't think he'll be going out on them, but we'll see nevertheless. Timon is going to lead them round soft tyres in the Alfa Romeo. He's been a qualifying specialist. He's been up the front of the grid all season long. And Interlagos, critically, even though it can be quite easy to make a mistake on your lap here, I think one thing that's very important, it's such a short lap, you can get quite a litany of laps and you can do 2 runs on the tyres, I believe here, if you manage them correctly, look after your battery. So I think nevertheless, you're going to see these drivers getting a lot of laps in and a lot of chance to get their best possible times on the boards.
Yeah, it definitely is. Feynman starts this lap. You can definitely gain a lot here. I think we'll be seeing times in the low 1 minute 6s. I don't think, even though with what Feynman says, we won't be seeing the 5s, but we never know. It could definitely be possible.
Also, one thing to watch out for is going to be slipstream potentially amongst teammates, because you can certainly gain quite a lot from that toe heading your way down the end of the lap. Timon is currently pushing on the lap right now. He's heading up towards Ferradura up in front of him, then flicking that car in, and it winds and winds, keeping that throttle pinned as much as you can to the second apex. Now breaking into Esse, and now heading through Pinarino, holding the car, then running out a little bit wide. Now applying that throttle pedal. Of course, these traction zones, as Nathan mentioned, could favour those power drivers like Timon. He navigates through Bico de Pato nicely. Through Mergulio now, keeps it nice and flat out towards Junshao onto the brakes. Little bit of understeer in that car. Manages to keep it nicely within track limits. Possible to run out of track limits, particularly through turn 2, but generally you can keep it nicely within the bounds, but within the white lines. Timon coming up to the line. We'll see how he opens up that session. It is a 1:07 flat. That is the time. You've predicted times to get towards maybe the low to mid 1:06s, so we'll see how things go. Gary is just fractionally slower, so we'll see where everyone is going to stack up, relatively speaking. But Timon, one of the favourites, open things up. XL Sully, though, who has been extremely quick in every single race that he's competed in. He has 2 wins this season now, which is more than 2 out of the top 3 in the championship, and he sets a very nice opening time, 1:06.7. He opens up the session.
Yeah, very good from Sully. Obviously, a very new XL man. There is a saying of the XL effect does make you a few times faster, so maybe we might see Sully dip into the low 6s. We have Larkin coming to light. A lot of differences between softs and mediums, as Larkin puts it 2 tenths behind Sully, as Kariko, one of the mathematical title contenders, only 700ths off of Sully. But yeah, a lot of split between the softs and mediums. The mediums are about 8 tenths slower, I'd say, roughly. So J. Cole and Slash and Coxey, all very good times actually on the mediums.
Slash always tends to go for those mediums early, and he does tend to set the world alight. We'll see if he can actually convert it over the course of the entire session. So we saw Larkin going 3rd then, just in front of his teammate Timon. I think may well be heading out on another one, so we'll keep track of some of those times as the session continues to evolve. So it's going to be fast paced. You're going to see quite a lot of laps obviously coming in at this early stage, with everyone gearing up, thrashing the car around the circuit. Sully, though, is on top. Kariko a close second in 1:06.7, but I guess again Slash, probably that most impressive medium lap, could have certainly potentially pushed the second row with the soft tyre. We'll see what he can do later on in the session. But Sully, Kariko, there's some way clean. Larkin in 3rd at this stage, but yeah, very early days, and I think we're still waiting for a lot more of those guys to transition over to the soft tyres, and then you'll really see what this entire grid can do, what they're capable of, and who will snatch that all-important pole position. Because, you know, overtaking in theory quite easy here, but as well, you can attest to in the Division 1, a DRS train can certainly build up, which in that race you were largely responsible for. But you know, certainly you don't want to get caught behind in the race, because if it does end up dry, those DRS trains can rack all the way up, and if you're 3rd or lower in the train without a tyre advantage, making those moves always going to be extremely difficult here.
Yeah, definitely. The DRS trains, I mean, on most tracks is bad, but for a track like Brazil, you wouldn't expect it to be as bad because of just the high speed and also maybe the opportunity to overtake. But yeah, if you do get stuck behind a car, and especially if, say, you're 3rd and P1 and P2 are, well, obviously if P2 is in the DRS, then you will struggle to get past, especially if your ERS as well is quite lower than the front 2. But yeah, it will just be interesting to see what the guys out on track can do.
Yeah, we've seen a few drivers running on their tyres, namely Timon and Gary. Both of those guys have dipped into the 106s. Timon just in front of Gary P4, right behind his teammate. But with a couple of laps on those tyres, additional laps, he could certainly be looking at more pace throughout the session. That was, I believe, Marnix coming over the line. That's a 107.5 on mediums. That could be one to watch then, Marnix. We'll see what he can do. Of course, very new to the division. Has not managed to finish a race yet, although he has shown impressive pace. Slash did minutely improve. He's done a 107.6, but Marnix, you have to say 107.5, and well, you do the maths on that, all of a sudden you're putting yourself at the very least P3, I think, with a lap that carries over. So Marnix in the Ferrari looking potentially ominous to maybe boost his way up, but we've got a long way to go in this session. Hard to predict how the rest of this is going to unfold.
Certainly, Marnix with a very good medium time. I've seen a few people like Slash do 3 or 4 laps on the medium, so definitely trying to save a set of softs of the race. Maybe either they might not think they can qualify top 10, or just for a late safety car as Bumpier come into the line. It seems like an improvement, but yeah, still 107.3, still P8 as we have, I think, is that a Red Bull of Zalnama just starting. But yeah, at the moment, Sully still clear out on top.
Yeah, at the moment then, Sully as well, heading throughout the rest of the lap. We'll see what he is. He has actually backed off that one, so not happy with the way things were unfolding in the Alpine. He will look to go again. Larkin has just got one kicked off, so we'll track Larkin then. Championship contender, third at the moment. Sieb, always a fixture in these qualifying sessions as well. He's put himself up onto the professional front row. 106.786 is the time for the Aston Martin, and Jaco goes second. Jaco, who was also up there on those medium tyres, he has set himself up nicely, so you can see now the times starting to come down and everyone's starting to get those laps together. Sully from Jaco, from Sieb, from Kriko, all those guys in the 1 minute 6.7s at this moment, so about 700ths of a second covering the top 4, very close, but those margins are what you'd expect at a short track like Interlagos. Zaudema in the Red Bull coming up towards the line, crosses it, goes 6, decent lap. 106.9 is the time for him. Cox, he's got a lap kicked off, of course. He showed pretty good pace on the mediums earlier, and Larkin is a tenth or so up, so he can put himself right up near the front. Larkin crosses the line, goes second, fractionally off Sully's time, so Larkin getting himself up there. We'll see how his teammate and such respond to that. So XL Sully, despite setting that time early on, he was half a tenth up to the middle sector. Pets, he hasn't got a clean second run in, but Sully's pace does look to be ominous. Still no one able to top that on the second runs thus far.
Yeah, nobody come close yet. Feynman 200. So very interesting. I did see J. Cole getting a slipstream off of Ben J. I was not sure if Ben was just starting the lap and then J. Cole just benefited from it, but yeah, obviously J. Cole benefited very nicely from it to get up to P3. As Feynman just coming through the middle side, passing his teammate. I think it'll be very interesting if Larkin and Feynman are close together on track. You normally see obviously teammates working together, but I think with, well, as you've seen from like Hamilton and Rosberg, Hamilton and Alonso, when you're fighting your teammate for the championship, as Feynman does back up, I think fighting your teammate is even more harder than fighting somebody in a different car, because there's no help from your mate, you don't get any benefits from it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those two do play out.
Emily Kriko's on an excellent lap for the first 2 sectors, crosses the line, goes fastest, 106.6. Yeah, you can tell between those two Alfa Romeos. In Hungary, I think, was the clearest example of that. They fought each other for the race when ended up finishing second and third on the day. Larkin with a last lap overtake on his teammate. Neither of them very happy with each other after the race, it must be said, but they are leaving it all on the track. There's no question about that. Timon has just started another, so we'll see what he can do. Very tight near the front of the grid. I think that was Slash going fourth. We saw the medium lap. He's managed to translate some pace over. Still keep an eye out for some others. Marnix, we saw that very impressive lap for the Ferrari man on mediums. He's just started a lap on the soft, so we'll see what he can do. Kriko at the moment all professional pole. We've seen the majority of these second runs in timing just slightly up in the first sector. Gary is pushing further around the lap. He's quite low in battery. He's maybe taking some life out the tyres as Matt Tibos goes 8th, and they're really all stacking up in terms of time. Coxey was just 1,000 quicker than Matt Tibos, and Gary is slightly up. That's less than a tenth of a second, but that less than a tenth of a second is moving him from 12th up to 8th as it stands right now. Then there's a bit of a gap up towards that litany of cars on the 106.7 incredibly competitive session. Gary comes up to the line, goes 8th. 106.812 is the time for the Red Bull man. Timing now crosses the line, goes 5th. 106.7, another man on the 106.7. There is just over a tenth between 1st and 8th. Again, that is just Interlagos at its finest then. Oh, so competitive. And we've got the championship leader, Carl Menzelist. He's only 4/10 of a second off pole, but 4/10 of a second off pole is only good for 16th on the grid, and the second slowest time on those soft compounded tyres. Wow, this is competitive.
Yeah, comments this. I think all throughout the season, I think that's been his one struggle is his qualifying pace, and then you see in the race, he's just, I think we could say the most consistent out of everybody. Maybe there's others that have like been consistent but haven't had the luck of either safety cars or benefited from other people's incidents. But yeah, just like I think it's down to Gary and P10, like 1.4 tenths between the top 10 is just crazy for how close this grid is, and it does set up for a very exciting race. As I believe there's a Red Bull. I know it's just Gary pitting, but yeah, very close between the top. But Creco, bit of an advantage at the moment, but as the clock ticks down, we'll have to see if anybody can top him.
Might well be Sully coming over the line now, goes fastest, and that is the first real statement, I must say, in this session. 106.5, we saw that banker lap that was still right up at the front of the grid, and he's now made a firm improvement, goes fastest. Boumpier is coming up to the line, 18th, goes 11th, 106.8. You know, you're guaranteed you must get deep into the 106s if you want any chance of a good result here. Otherwise, you may want to settle further down the grid. But Sully, at the moment, is top of the timesheets. Benji S is invalidated further round the lap. Nathan JB in the McLaren, I believe, is the next one down the track. He has put a few laps on those tires. He's low on battery, so we'll see how he continues on then as he heads it now through Pinarino up towards the second half of the lap. Funky Chicken has decided to back out of the session in the pit lane. Nathan JB is actually backed off that lap. He's allowed Seeb through, who continues on in the Aston Martin. We'll see what his second sector time is. He's fractionally down 6,000s. He takes a lot of curb, really aggressive through Chunchal, trying to find anything he can. And of course, well, slightly more than anything, all of a sudden you're looking at P3 on the grid, so it's worth trying to hunt for those minute improvements. And as I say that, Seeb, I said he just needed the slightest improvement. He's done that. Makes up the time in the last sector. I goes third fastest, 106.6, just behind Creco. And that's what it's going to take with everyone so remarkably close in terms of pace. The pressure at an all-time high. And now, of course, these drivers are all going to have to deliver on that pressure. It's all mounting, and these guys are going to have to put it all together, particularly those two Alfa Romeos that are right in the hunt for the championship. Could put themselves onto the front couple roads of the grid, but they mess up that last run, and they're staring at a starting position that does not favour them in the slightest.
Yeah, beating the pressure is what can bring you titles in any division or anything. Just being able to deliver when it counts, as Gary just starts probably his second to last lap. He'll be able to get 2 laps in, but yeah, if either one of them starts, even the top 3, and the other one starts down in, say, P8 or P9, it's going to be really difficult for the one starting further down the grid to do anything from there.
Yeah, certainly. So, as Gary runs wide, heading through at turn 4, and that is going to be it then for his flying lap. He will get another shot at it. He does have the battery, you'd presume he has the fuel, but he is going to have to just wait a little bit longer. His teammate Zaudemat is behind him on the track, ran a little bit wide there, heading through the end of the first sector at the Cida del Lago, heading up towards Ferradura there, flicks it in, tries to hold the line, he's understeering though and runs wide and spinning Zaudemat off the road. He hits the wall, he'll try and recover that car, but both Red Bulls making errors, and that is what can happen when that pressure really starts to mount. You've got to deliver now, with everything on the line at this stage in qualifying. Further down the track, Slash, he's invalid, so you can see the mistakes are creeping in, because the improvements, they're hard to come by at this stage. These guys are already so close to their known limits, and they're going to have to push that a little bit further. Sully has a comfortable margin. The rest of the field, again, a 10th between 2nd and 9th. We'll see how this is going to unfold in these closing, dying stages. Who's the furthest along on a real flying lap? Matt Tibos is coming near the end of a flyer at the moment. Carmento is further down the track at this stage. Matt Tibos heading through, out of Jun Chao, heading through. We'll keep an eye out for any improvements at this late in the day phase in the session. So, Matt Tibos in the Williams Spa race winner comes up to the line 13th at the moment, goes 11th. He may take that. The alternate strategy could be very powerful here. Kriko did improve, I believe. No, he didn't. He actually does have to go again. Marnix has crashed on the pit straight, which I'm not entirely sure how he's pulled that off. Oh no.
Running up to the line, yeah, that was very weird.
So catching it in the wrong way then, Marnix out of this session. We've got an Alpine coming up to the line. Carmentos, 106.9 is not quick enough at this stage. Benji S will be one of the last over the line. Sully in the other Alpine. He's slightly up, coming up towards it. Actually, slightly down, I must say. My apologies. He's going to go again, and he backed off that just a little bit. There's a Mercedes coming up to the line. It's XL Jaco, but he also down on the lap at the moment. Is there anyone that can find anything near the end? Timon, you say he's on a great lap. Where is he? He's heading up to the line. Goes second. 106.5, and that's the crucial lap. What can his teammate do? Larkin, he's not got the first lap in. He's going to have to get another one done then, as he just about makes it over the line. Ferrari to the line. I think that was Bumpier, but Bumpier only the slightest of improvements, no positional improvements. Sully still on provisional pole. Timon's putting in a solid lap to go second. Who is going to step up to the plate then? Red Bull heading down the pit straight. Zerova, no. There's so many errors late in the day. Ariel Coxey as well, no. The time's just not quite coming together. Benji S is 2/10 up but invalid. Does anyone have anything left to give? Sully has decided to hit this around the track, and he's a full 10th of a second up. He almost hit the curb like Marnix then, but he is going to run it to the line now. XL Sully crosses the line, but he loses the time in the last sector. Mercedes down the track. Jaco, he is 2/10 down. Does anyone have anything left? Gary is half a 10th up. He finds time, but not enough to improve. McLaren, Calvin, great last lap. Goes 5th. Finds it at the death. And now XL Larkin. He's nearly 2/10 of a second up. Can he jump himself right up the grid in the last? Larkin is on pole! Unbelievable! And Sebe with a monster lap. The Aston Martin pips the Alfa Romeo. What a lap! 106.3. Sensational stuff. Slash is down on his lap further down the track. So Kriko, Timon, they've backed off. Nathan JB is off the track as well. I think that's going to be it for qualifying. A thrilling conclusion in the end. Sebe, I said he's a qualifying specialist, and he's done just that. Puts it on pole. Fractionally from Larkin. Both the Alfa Romeos get decent qualifying results in a remarkably competitive session in that midfield especially, but Sebe pulling it off in the end. Larkin on that front row. Wow, we've got a race in our hands then. Sebe right at the death, literally the last lap of the session, and he snatched pole position away to get his evening off to the perfect start.
We were just about to congratulate Larkin on, well, 5,000 of a second. I would be so close. And then Steve, he's about 2 seconds down the road from him. 1.4 that is, yeah, what a lap by Sebe. I think Larkin will be very pleased to have Sully in between him and Timon, and with Sully's pace as well. I think Larkin will be incredibly pleased. Maybe he could get Sebe off the line, but I think Larkin will be just as happy to just sit behind Sebe and just save tyres and fuel.
Yes, certainly. He will look to, I imagine, play the long game. We'll see. Sebe, Larkin, Sully, Timon, first 2 rows. Timon a decent qualifying. Kriko, Calvin, 3rd row. And it's Marnix who crashed at the end of the session. Slash, Jekyll, and Benji S rounding out the top 10. Gary, outside bet for the championship. I think we'd be quite happy with that alternate strategy. You can move through in that final stint if you go to the softs later on. Gary, Matt Tibos, Dascreen, Bumpier, Coxey, Zaudemak, Carmentalist doesn't find the pace. He's 17th. Nathan JB and Funky Chicken rounds out the grid. So that is it for qualifying. Sieb, a brilliant late lap. Again, we were just about getting ready to congratulate Larkin in the end. Wasn't quite to be, but we'll see how this last lap, or this next race is going to unfold. We'll see if the weather does intervene. Of course, it can do at Interlagos. I'm not sure, though, as Division 2, it has been, well, fairly spared of it, and yes, it does look fairly clear skies. So, we will look into the race then. It is Sieb Larkin on the front row. We'll see how those guys are going to emerge from the front of the grid, but really, in terms of strategy here, Nathan, it's fairly academic, I think. I think it's fairly simple. I guess the question is then, is those pit laps, because in a close race that you'd imagine could be in a DRS train, of course, safety cars and incidents outstanding. We'll see how things unfold, because you can manoeuvre your way through those pit stops to get yourself in a good position.
Yeah, certainly. I think for the soft runners, you can go from lap line, but you will be really risking a puncture, as we saw from a couple of divisions last season. I think the ideal pit laps is about 10 to 13, and then for the guys outside the top 10, it'll probably be around lap 20. Maybe you'll see a couple of the guys on lap 19 or 18, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, we have Larkin and Timon in P2 and 4 on the soft medium, and then you'd assume Commentalis and Gary as we get the tyres up. Yeah, everyone outside top 10 on medium, so it'd be interesting to see, obviously, Commentalis leading the championship and starting P17. I would not be surprised if he finishes in the top 5 again this race, but yeah, it would just be... I mean, Commentalis, I don't know what you can really say at this point. Like, he just seems to be there when, like, it matters. I think it was just up until China. Like, he'd scored points every race, even if he'd had had an incident. So I think he's just somebody that if there's an incident happening, he'll just be able to gain that many positions. And I think that's what's really got him this championship lead. Obviously, you have the likes of Timon, who I think on raw pace, could have won the championship like ages ago, but just the small errors and mistakes just can cost you so much.
Yeah, they definitely can, and these guys have all made mistakes, though. Even Commentalis has given plenty of points away throughout the season that he will be regretting, I imagine, if he doesn't end up winning this championship. Larkin gave away a few results earlier in the season, came back strong, of course, in the last few rounds in time, and we've seen plenty of points slip out of his grasp, slip beneath his fingers. So we'll see what he can do from fourth on the grid. He and Sully lining up together. Sully, of course, set the pace for the majority of qualifying, but didn't get that lap in really at the end to put himself further up the order. Sieb, Larkin, they run side by side out of the front row. We'll see who's going to get that start then. The all-important run, it's not a long run in towards turn number 1, but that uphill start can catch the drivers out. We will see everyone now forming up on the grid for the second to last time in the Division 2 season. So now, with everyone just about settled on the grid, we will look to get this underway. 15 rounds down, 2 more to go for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We have 5 lights in a way off the line, and it's a brilliant reaction from Larkin there. He got the better jump on Sieb, but Sieb responding in the second phase, cuts in front and manages to hold on to the lead. Sieb from Larkin, Timon works his way third as Sully scrambling in behind. He's side by side with Calvin, the McLaren pinched on the inside, and round at the back of the field is Matt Timos dropping back out at the start. It is Sieb from Larkin, from Timon, they run single file. Krico trying to make the advances on Ariel Calvin is rounding up saying Matt Timos is out, heading out of the centre S then. That was heading through the cover of the soul. He's out of the race. Marnix and Calvin scrapping away. Calvin losing places over on this first lap. Sieb leads Larkin, leads Timon. I'm not sure if there's going to be anything brought out from Matt Timos. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case as the yellows have been out there for some time. We'll see if that car is going to get cleared further down the track. They all run then fairly simply in formation. Track is clear, no safety cars. There was a lunge further down the field, I think from Commentalis, looking at Nathan JB, unable to quite find a way through, but the entire field's still intact, of course, with the outstanding factor of Matt Timos. Unfortunately, out of the running here early on in this race, gutting for him, but Sieb leads Larkin. He did what he had to do. He didn't get the best start, but he managed to hold on to the lead.
Yeah, the initial launch from Larkin was crazy, and then I don't know what he did in the second phase, but Sieb just was able to just stay ahead, as we have Commentus and Nathan JB side by side, but Nathan JB just manages to stay ahead, although Commentus might be able to get him back on ARS depending on the straight line speed. No, he's not going to. As J. Cole goes at the inside of Calvin having a shocker of a start. But yeah, as Calvin has a spin, I don't think there was contact there. He might have just lost it on the inside curve. It's very, very prone to spinning the car and just unsettling it. But yeah, a few mistakes, obviously. Matt Tavosh retiring probably was contact, but doesn't seem to have affected anyone else. And obviously Calvin having an unforced error. But yeah, Sieb, Larkin and Timon currently the top three.
Yes, Sieb hasn't made a full-blown effort to establish that gap. Larkin as well, and Timon, they're both extremely comfortable when it comes to battery. Everyone, in fact, looking after that fairly nicely. J. Cole, of course, having had Calvin go around in front of him, that has opened up some gaps, and he's having to push quite hard to make sure he's staying in contact there. You can see the fastest laps flooding in. We'll see how things are going to unfold differently. With DRS now in order, you'd imagine Timon is going to try and push his teammate into attacking Sieb. So we'll see how this is going to unfold here. Larkin fairly content to sit back as it stands right now, as Calvin has jumped out of the session. I'm not sure if that's a disconnection because, well, he's still out on track there. So Calvin may well try and get himself back into this session. We will see. Sieb leads Larkin, leads Timon, as I said. All the soft runners in contention. Gary is trying to stay with us then. At the head of the medium train. It's about 9/10 of a second, of course. DRS now in activation, so he's going to try and match these guys up in front. It's not the most bunched up train then, with J. Cole trying to push his way up towards Slash in front. The medium train seems fairly in contact, regardless of Zoudom actually, who's slipped back a little bit. So a few guys struggling to hold on. In fact, through this middle sector, the grip of the medium still isn't quite there, and Gary critically losing out. So that alternate strategy, while it's still in a decent position, it's been weakened a bit because Gary's not getting pulled along now.
Yeah, Gary barred Jacob as Kriko's made a mistake,
yep.
Or here comes Slash now. Oh, so close. Kriko's squeezing him, and they're gonna be side by side. Marnix giving Kriko this slipstream, and Slash just seems to have kept that head. Yeah, nice and orderly from all the drivers. But yeah, I was gonna say Gary barred apart from Jacob, and obviously maybe one other. He's got the lowest DRS, and yeah, I mean. 7/10 in, less than a lap he's lost. I think if they can keep it within 3 or 4 seconds, I think they'll still be fine, but the Ultratrack runners are really going to struggle for the rest of the race, especially if the soft runners are able to keep at his pace.
Yeah, I think Gary just having, to be honest, a typical Gary moment, just not being able to settle into the race early and having to use a lot of that battery. It's been something that's plagued him all season, and I think that scream is going to have to be the one that pushes the pace, because Gary is unable to even get close to the pace of the guys in front. It's about 7/8 of a second a lap at this stage. So he's going to have to try and work. But that scream not really near enough at this stage. Everyone else sitting nicely in contention at this moment. And Sieb leads Larkin. And Larkin under pressure from Timon. Timon is attacking his teammate here. And the Alfa Romeos are going to war here. On the outside is Timon. On the inside, Larkin towards the braking zone of one. Timon sends it on the brakes. Tries to get it stopped and turn in. He's squeezed by Larkin. And the Alfa Romeos coming together here early in the day. Larkin holds half a car length in front. And still Timon is squeezed. Oh my word! 2 near misses for the Alfa Romeo drivers, and they've set the precedent, set the tone early here. My oh my, for those two, with a championship on the line, the audacity to go so aggressive on each other early in the race. Somehow they keep it pointed. It's still Larkin second, time and third, but that was a heart and mouth moment for both drivers. Wow, they were so close to coming a cropper there.
Oh, but that was incredible. I mean, I've just seen Sieb used a lot. I think he was obviously trying to break away from Larkin, as Larkin maybe has overheated the tyres in that battle. But yeah, Feynman tried to keep around outside, and I'm not sure if there was the room, but I think it was definitely Larkin's corner. But yeah, Feynman was being very aggressive, trying to get past his teammate. But yeah, I'm shocked that it's just. I think this is going to just be a recurring occurrence for the next 30 laps between these two.
They almost came together to blows completely in Hungary's. Carmentalist cruises past Nathan the JB. Nathan the JB really struggling, and Carmentalist having to work now to stay within range of Zerima, who's also looking almost detached. Nathan JB with a penalty as well, struggling early on in the race. I think I saw someone dropping back. That was actually Calvin's ghosted car there. I just flicked to at that point. Calvin, of course, unable to get back in. He is, of course, way out of contention now in this race. It's now very bunched up amongst the front runners, as is fairly common when DRS is enabled. I wonder if Larkin is going to try and attack Seep here. Seep is running a bit lower on battery at this stage. Larkin may want to protect his, but he might just be concerned because timing, as it seems, maybe he's calmed down now after throwing that assault, but right now he's still trying to throw everything at Larkin, looking to get that second spot in the train.
Yeah, I think Feynman is being one to be more of an aggressive driver than say Larkin or others, but yeah, I think as Sully's got a run on Feynman, but Feynman using his RS should be able to keep ahead, and does always. Feynman's going to have a go on Larkin, and then now side by side Larkin fires, Feynman runs one, and yeah, Larkin just keeps the corner. Feynman, although no, he should just keep ahead as Kriko goes past Jacob, but just looking at the ultra track runners, the medium he's still falling off a lot, even with Larkin and Feynman like coming to blows. Gary's still falling off about 7-8 times a lap, as we said before.
And behind Jaco, BenJS, wheel to wheel up the hill towards Ferradura. Nothing between those two as they flick it into turn number 6. Jaco inside, BenJS outside. They're locked together as they head it in towards Esse. And Jaco sends it inside and holds on just in front of the Haas. But those guys are going at it then. Jaco, as you mentioned, he lost out to Kriko. And now BenJS is swarming over the back of him looking to get through. That's going to just help those ultra runners slightly. But still, they are quite a bit further back than they would have expected. Gary is still leading them along at this stage. Larkin is using quite a bit of battery. Timon is fairly close to him. He's still trying to push him into getting up to see it. I think Larkin's going to go through here. Larkin making the move, and Timon in extremely early here at the end of lap 7. So Timon dives to the pit lane. He's went for the undercut. We'll see how he pulls it off. Could he go for hard then, or is it going to be a risky strategy?
If that's mediums, that is ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
It's actually medium. What is his... okay, well, yeah, Feynman at the end is going to be very... He's going to have to nurse them. Personally, I think he's just going for the undercut. Obviously, Larkin has now got through on Seeb. Larkin's not got that much ERS. Feynman with about 50% more, so... Yeah, I mean, Feynman is probably just going to go try and get him the undercut on both. And as we saw at Russia... Oh, it's Calvin now, that's just on the pit lane. Yeah, I think obviously we saw at Russia, as soon as Feynman breaks DRS, he has the potential to then pull away by God knows how many seconds, but yeah, I mean, lap 7 is very, very early, so he's going to have to nurse these for the next 28 laps.
I guess now the question is, how much of a reaction is this going to prompt from the race leaders out on track? Larkin using quite a lot of battery, which I think might indicate he's going to come in. No, he does stay out, so he wants to try and keep on extending. Seamus followed him, so these guys are wary of that later medium stint. Jaco coming back at Kriko to the outside towards the centre S, and Kriko's not going to let it go. He holds it inside, but Jaco all the way around the outside gets it a P6. Great move from Jaco, and Kriko is down on momentum, and BenJS may fancy his chances of chasing down the AlphaTauri. I think Kriko will be able to resist that. Jaco gets through, but has dropped back somewhat from the group in front, so he's going to have to try and move just like he did early in the race when Calvin got round to get towards these guys. Timon, of course, will be blistering fast, and he might be able to get out of the DRS range with this undercut, which might be what he's going for, but like you said, it is early, and the question is, can he make those tyres last? He's pushing on now in the Alpha, continuing on. When are these race leaders going to pit? Because they may prioritise, if they can't stay in front of Timon to the pit stops, they may just prioritise keeping those fresher, better tyres and being able to make it more of a statement later on in the race.
Yeah, just looking at the ERS level of Larkin, he might... I'm not sure if he's able to save more Feynman, but just seems to have like regained more. Yes, all of them stay out apart from Sully. Sully's in. Lap 9's more reasonable than lap 7. Lap 7 is very, very early. It could be in puncture territory, but it depends on his tyre, whereas we have BenJS and also Kriko in the pits, which I think Jake will be very happy to see the back of Kriko, and hopefully he can actually regain some ERS. It is Carmentalist picks up a penalty, which is very strange for him. One of the lesser people to normally pick up a pen. So, yeah, that potential big blow, especially if the DRS trains stay as powerful as they have.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic from Carmentalist there, and that's going to really set him back. And of course, as a guy that has used that ult strat to great effect throughout this season, that might work against him at this stage. Now, those guys coming in, then Sully, you can see Sully 3 seconds already shy of Timon. I think Timon is probably going to be able to get a decent gap on these guys. The question is, of course, is about those tyres. Larkin and Seeb, they're running right almost nose to tail on the track. Seeb is starting to use that battery. Larkin has drained most of his. He must surely be pitting, and yes, he does. Seeb will stay out another lap, continue to extend. So Larkin, Marnix, Jaco all in, slash extends with Seeb. So you can see these separate strategies working out. Though Timon is going to have a good lead, you'd suspect, at this stage in the race. Of course, the medium train out there further in front of him could be something to worry about. But in the short term, at least, this undercut is going to work to good effect. Larkin is able to get out nicely in front of the likes of Marnix and Jaco, but Timon is going to jump him by some distance, and Sully will look to try and gain the upper hand as well out on track. It's not going to be much in it, but I think Sully is going to be able to get out just in front of Larkin. Larkin will slot in behind him in an EP3. He won't be too angry with that, I don't think. Timon has used quite a lot of his battery. Larkin isn't too high though behind Sully. Marnix, BenGS, Jaco, they're all still with this. We'll see how they do now. The gap is 2 seconds up to Timon up in front. So Timon, he's made the gamble. Short term, it's paid off. The question is, can he sustain this pace with Sully, a man that looked like getting pole position for a long time, chasing him down and trying to get that gap down from behind, and also that medium train. They're going to be out for some time, and it's not out of the question that they can start holding up this entire net race leading bunch.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused at Feynman's game plan. Obviously, he's got out of third position as Seeb now pit slash staying out. So he is net P1, but like Sully's gained a second since he's pitted. As he's a yellow flag, as I believe that's Marnix just had a spin. But yeah, Feynman. I'm interested to see if Sully goes straight past. Obviously, I think Feynman just wanted to be ahead of Larkin, because now it's more of a case of unless Feynman gets a pen, Larkin now does actually have to overtake him, which if Larkin ends up behind Sully and Sully doesn't overtake, then Larkin's got a very big job in his hands to actually get past us. Nathan JB's had a spin. That was very early in the corner. I'm not sure. He may have actually got off the outside of turn 4.
And Nathan JB, where he's slotted in, he does have plenty of damage, I think, or at least the tyres have gone completely off. He is going to stay nicely out the way of that advancing medium train, so he doesn't impact the race a huge amount. Nathan JB, unfortunate in a race that really just hasn't gone to plan. From the start onwards, it just hasn't worked out. The yellows are still out there, out of Desira del Lago. Now they finally do replace them. No, they're back. I don't understand what's going on there, but the yellows acting up quite a bit. It's clear now, Timon, he's burned quite a lot of battery, he's done all he can, but it seems as though Sully is able to quite confidently chase him down. It may well be a slow process, but I think eventually he'll be able to get back towards him then, dragging Larkin and just about Seeb with him. Seeb, of course, with better tyres, could be one. I'm not sure if you can see these yellows as well, Nathan.
Yeah,
that keeps flicking on and off, but hopefully that doesn't impact it too much when cars are running side by side, because that could certainly... well, you could leave some penalties being dished out that are rather undeserved, so hopefully that doesn't have too much of an impact on the race. Timon from Sully is 1.4 seconds. Sully has chased him down quite nicely, kept the battery, and I think Timon, even though he's doing all he can, it seems as though keeping these guys at arm's length is going to be a near impossible task as Sully behind advances.
Yeah, certainly. Sully, obviously, with 20% more ERS. I think it depends I think this race will be decided on what Sully does. I think if Sully goes past him, then we're going to see a big battle between Larkin and Feynman. Obviously, Larkin has, 40% more ERS than Feynman, so yeah, I think Sully is kind of the cork in the bottle here, and also it will depend how hard Feynman does fight for it, because obviously Sully doesn't have anything to fight for. Obviously, he has his own battles order, but when you're in Feynman or Larkin's position, you've really got to think of the championship, and you can't be making any over-ambitious dives or defensive manoeuvres to try and keep a position, because one bad manoeuvre and you've lost it.
Oh, Funky Chicken off the road in the Mercedes again, just like Nathan JB. He gets out of the way of everyone. He's going to emerge back on the track almost next to Nathan JB and still continuing to stay off. So I'm not sure exactly what's happened. I think maybe just the driving error. He recovers the car, but it's some way down the order there. Nathan JB is backwards as well. These two just can't quite keep the car going in a straight line, and those mistakes continue to creep in, and it's isolating some of these guys further up the road. Sully now is within DRS range of Timon, and he's managed to hunt him down, but Timon has also managed to save the battery, so I think he's anticipated he's not going to be able to keep these guys off him, and now he's kind of resigned to that, and now he's looking after that battery just a little bit more. The yellows are now, oh dear, this is not good. They're all over the place at this stage, wherever cars have gone off, so yeah, I think we may see a busy stewards room because those yellow flags are just unrelenting and continuing to spread across the track. Now it's now pretty much the first third of a lap there all around.
Yeah, Seeb just, I saw Larkin was using his air. I thought he was trying to go. I didn't realise Seeb was having a look at Larkin. Larkin left him just enough room, but BenJS now trying to go side by side, but yeah, Seeb just stays ahead. So yeah, Larkin's had to use about 20% of his ERS, so it'll be interesting to see. I think this top three now should pull away. Obviously, Seeb maybe can get back into this. Obviously, was about a tenth and a half clear than everybody else. All up. So, yeah, Seeb maybe trying a bit too hard after not being able to get past Larkin. But yeah, if this top three does start to pull away, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens between all three of these guys.
Sully continuing to remain patient. Maybe this is going to be the game for him, of course. He will know Timon's tyres are not, even if he gets to the end, they will not be in a very good state near the end. Sully is being patient. Is Larkin going to try and push him, or is he also just going to bide his time in behind? Seeb is doing all he can to work his way back in, exactly like he was doing in Canada with Gary and Carmenflist, who were fighting for the lead. Timon holds on in front of Sully. Sully, again, with, well, yellow flags and pretty much the entire first half of the lap now. Maybe getting a legal overtake done won't be easy, but he is on the battery now. He's chasing down Timon. He's going to the inside towards our board. Timon lets it go. So through goes, and also BenJS getting through on Seeb. So he's going to try and work his way back in, but Sully now leads the race, and the Alfa Romeos are connected once again. Larkin with 3 lap pressure tyres with more battery. Timon with track position. We'll see how this scrap is going to unfold on the road. We saw them nearly coming together and taking each other off the road earlier on in the race. Of course, Timon is going to be happy to sit second in the train at the moment. Sully is not, I don't imagine, making a huge effort to pull away. The gap 0.6 of a second as Nathan JB has gone around yet again at Desira de Lagos, so really hasn't gone well for him at all. He will recover the car, but of course now a long way adrift of pretty much the rest of the field. The up medium start is still going on fairly nicely up at the front of the race, and Larkin now is starting to push towards Timon. So this time Larkin looking like the aggressor. He doesn't go for the move, although he does get quite close on the brakes. So these guys now getting very much up close and personal. BenJS was nearly within DRS range, couldn't quite manage it though, as the yellows are continuing. Jaco's out of the race. Jaco off the track at the edge of a full safety car is deployed. Safety car out on the track, and now what do these other guys do? Because, well, you'd imagine the medium runners are going to look to stay out, but what are these leaders going to do? Because the soft tyres, well, that is some stretch to take them to the end of the race from here.
Yeah, certainly. Jaco, I'm guessing he just got off, his Kariku's just left the session, which maybe that's a disconnect, but yeah, Jaco must have just got on the curb a bit, but I think everybody will pit for softs. Obviously, end of the safety car will probably resume racing on about lap 19, I believe, depending on how quick Nathan JB catches back up. Obviously, he'll probably pit for softs, but we do have to say, this is going to bring Gary and Carmentalist right back into this. Also, we've got to watch out for any guys that have already pitted that might go back onto softs. I don't think they will, but because of the soft advantage, as I think everybody will go through, unless nah, they all stay out. So, yeah, we're interested to see where, I think all the soft runners should filter out at the back of the train. And it's just going to be a case of where can they get up to? Obviously nobody with pens at the moment, but only 8 cars ahead. They're going to have to get a lot of moves done in the first 2 laps before the DRS gets activated, because as soon as the DRS gets activated, it's as if they were all on the same tyre. So, as Funky Chicken's gone hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Funky Chicken, probably not the bravest strategy, or in fact, wait,
he might be going back onto mediums. He was on mediums before, or am I? Yeah, I think maybe he's going back onto me because 18 laps on softs is a bit of a stretch. So by the last 10 laps, mediums will be quicker. Obviously fresher, like the likes of Feynman and that will have pretty much the worst tyres until the end of the race. But yeah, Funky Chicken probably pit him back onto mediums, or it was just a mistake. But yeah.
We'll see what he is going to try then. I imagine the rest of the soft runners will probably stick this out, as they should maintain a tyre advantage throughout most of the rest of the race, but they are going to have to get on with it. As you mentioned, DRS does tend to neutralise that. When you do end up in a train, you always have that lane of defence against the car coming up behind you. So the Alfa Romeos, this does help Timon's tyres just a little bit. These laps behind the safety car, I think, will make sure he gets to the end of the race, but don't get me wrong, he will still have the worst tyres in the field at the end. Creco is going to go in, interestingly enough, as does Carmentelis, who gets a penalty. And tonight, clearly just not his night. The championship leader in real trouble here, and really some deficits that are going to be very difficult to make up. He does switch to mediums. Creco has gone on to soft, so he is really banking, I imagine, on these medium runners in front not being able to maintain track position. He was at the back of that train, so Creco now re-emerges. Of course, we saw the disconnection, he's got back in. He comes back onto track, and Creco clearly thinking those medium runners are just not going to be able to defend.
I assume Creco pitted under his own steam. Obviously, he did disconnect, but I think he was back in his car. Carmentelis, I'm very shocked at. He's leading the championship, so he doesn't have to take a massive risk. But with the 5-second pen, because depending on how quickly the McLaren of Nathan JB can catch up, this might go in this lap, so you can't even get rid of it. And obviously, because it's a speeding pen, he can't get it removed in the stewards room. So yeah, very. You'd think in Carmentelis' position, you'd just stay on the softs and almost try and follow everybody, because the likes of Dascream, not so much Gary, but like Coxey and Bumpia, they obviously don't have anything to fight for, as I think we might have one more lap, depending on how. Oh, it's going to be close. It might be a very late safety car, but yeah, the likes of Dascream and that, they're going to try and push through this field. And you could see incidents happening, so it's a very late one. But yeah, so yeah, Carmentelis really almost he might have thrown it away. He might not. I don't even know if he might get points here, but yeah, we just got to see.
Sully, maybe I'll just run this up to the line. He hasn't had much time to prepare for this, but he is going to try and get things kicked off regardless. And away he goes. Sully puts the foot down from the front of the field, and behind, Benji S is the one under pressure. Slash and Safe swarming all over it, but he manages to cover it up. Bumpy and Coxey, and they're all stacking up into the side of Hesses. Further down in the midfield, and that scream Gary, side by side, the soft runners fighting amongst themselves. Gary's wide, hitting through cover the soul, dropping back then into turn number 3 as Bumpy alongside him. Gary losing places on the restart then, and Funky checking off further down the field. Gary sends it inside of Bumpy. He's going to run the Ferrari just a little bit wide. Further up the field, the medium runners all managing to maintain possession so far. So the soft runners not getting through early on. That scream looking at Marnix, can't quite get through. And Coxey, I think, was almost into the back of him. Gary sending it outside of Coxey. It's brutal fighting further down the field. Coxey and Gary side by side, making contact all the way through. Somehow managing to keep it all pointed in the right direction through Pinarino, and still keeping it in line. But Gary is wide, heading through Mergulio, and now Bumpy on the inside line. These guys going at it. That scream has gone through a Marnix. Marnix slipping back, so the soft run is finally advancing. What a crazy restart further down the field. Sully's made a great start, and he's managed to pull a gap to Timon. And Timon, of course, with no DRS yet, and there's a threat here of him dropping back and potentially leaving himself vulnerable. So it's a big lap here for Timon. Coxey through on Marnix. Marnix slipping back. Gary now with Nathan JB all over him. I'm not sure if Gary's got damage, but he's really struggling out there, the Red Bull. Managing to hold on. Kriko is looking at the pair of them. Can't find the gap. Inside into Zeno del Lago. Nathan has to get out of it from Gary, who shut the door on him. It's crazy stuff down the field. Fairly civilized up the front. Timon has managed to just about stick with the man in front then. Funky Chicken has gone in, and they're still going at it further down the field. Boompy and Marnix. Marnix slipping back still. Not exactly sure what's happening there. They're all over the road further down the field.
Yeah, Nathan JB just, well, almost bumped past Gary effectively, but yeah, Gary's, I think he does have damage with that understeer, but yeah, Gary really, I think, falling out of the title fight with this, but yeah, up at the front, Sully almost breaking DRS. Obviously, Feynman should get it as long as he doesn't make a mistake here. But yeah, Feynman almost derating as well. Larkin up to 42%. With 20% more, Feynman's still using. So yeah, the older tyres really not coming into play for Feynman. As Marnix crashed, I don't think there was contact, but that might bring out... It does bring out a safety car. So full course safety car. The likes of Slash and Steve, I think, might pit. But I don't think anybody else will, because of how I think the top four will stay the same. I think everybody else should stay out, unless well, obviously the likes of Car Mentalist will obviously get rid of his 5-second pen. Gary will probably go back onto softs again, so he'll rejoin the back of the group. But yeah.
It has been, it's been very wild since that restart, and I think Marnix, we saw him struggling. I think it was only a matter of time, the way they were going at it, that someone was going to bite the dust. In the end, it was Marnix. 15 left in the race at this stage. Unfortunate, Marnix, Jaco, Calvin, Matt Tibos, all out of the running at this stage in the Brazilian Grand Prix. We'll see. Timon, faints to the pit lane. Doesn't actually go for it though. Slash, as you mentioned, may come in from the back of the medium train. He has made the dive to the pit lane. Some guys further back may look to try and get off those tyres. Kriko, predictably Car Mentalist, those guys into the pits then. Car Mentalist will try and salvage some points, I imagine, from this race, which so far has been a race to forget for the Alpine man. At the front then, things fairly unchanged, although it does grant further advantage to those soft runners. They pull a position, and now the tyres will be in much better shape at the end of the race. They do lose a few laps of trying to get towards them, but now of course they'll have the advantage of tyre temperature on the restart. That scream from Coxey, those guys staring at a potential podium here, and of course those championship contending Alfa Romeos, they could be in the firing line for that soft train as well.
Yeah, and Vasquez and Coxey, I mean, they're not going to take any prisoners when overtaking people. They're just going to see, I mean, well, only 5 cars ahead of them, and if they can get it done in those first 2 laps, they're just going to push so hard against them. Very interesting that Kriko stayed out on those 10-lap-old stuff. She would probably want fresher tyres, especially with only 12 laps to go, but yeah, it's going to be, well, we saw Sully was almost out of DRS. I mean, Timon was down to only 15%, and Larkin seems to be able to manage his DRS a lot better than Timon, more having 20%, 30% more than him constantly. So yeah, I think the last 10 laps is where Larkin's really gonna. I think he's gonna first see if Sully can pull out of Feynman's DRS. Obviously, Feynman's tyres are gonna get worse, or just keep getting worse every lap, and I think he'll be safe on puncture range now, but in terms of just how they're actually going to like feel and react, it's going to be really difficult for him to keep Larkin behind now.
Yeah, Kriko has got off those tyres. He did pit, and I think now he's probably selected a set that's got too many laps on them. Clearly, he does get a fresh set on the car now. Kriko will re-emerge at the back of the field. Of course, we'll be looking to make up for that further down the line. Majority of the field now on that Red Bull, that soft compounded tyres. We should get back to racing at the end of this lap, so Sully will have, well, the full length of the straight now to control this. We'll see if he can get more of a jump. I think he didn't make a full-blown effort to break away from Timon, and he nearly did it. If he goes all in on the ERS, of course, Timon really pushed, and he managed to just about survive. Can he pull it off again? Of course, Timon keeping DRS is going to be oh so crucial for his chances in this Brazilian Grand Prix. because if he loses DRS, he is all there for the taking for Larkin, really, who can just line him up all he wants. And of course, he will look to try and get time in between him and those advancing soft runners. Of course, he wants as good a chance as he has for him not to get overtaken by the soft runners and for Timon to slip back. Timon, of course, with the oldest tyres in the field, you'd say the worst tyres in the field, is going to be up against it. We'll see if he can hold on to it. Now we will get back to racing on this lap, and Sully will back it up and wait. Of course, he will have a slightly more of the straight now to actually get this going. He's running at a decent pace, around 130 kilometers an hour. The safety car now to the pit lane. Now Sully is free to plant the throttle whenever he so pleases. He's running this towards the line again. He went slightly earlier at last time about. We'll see what he does this time. Timon is waiting, anticipating on that reaction time. Sully runs it now. Cans the throttle and away he goes, and Ben GS is looking at Larkin. Timon's reacted very well to that restart, and he's still in it. Coxey diving, that scream, and the battle commences further down the field. They come together. Seep with a bit of contact with Coxey, his teammate, and now slipping right down the field is Seep. And look at the cars all over the road. Bumpier slipping through over on the inside, Slash getting through. Cinema inside Seep, who's running out of grip now on those mediums, gets a penalty, and now Nathan JB drawing up and alongside him as they head up towards Ferradur. He's going to get through Seep, dropping way down the field, and I think that's his chances in this race. Fairly behind him now, and a launch from Carmentelis coming at the Aston Martin, and he may well just get through. He holds on Seep though, running Carmentelis just a little bit wide, and Coxey's attacking Ben GS and gets through to Pico de Pato. He runs fourth as Coxey, and now he's staring down the podium with a spectacular safety car restart. Sully from Timon about 3/4 of a second back. They've managed to look after the battery. It's chaos at Jun Shao. But down the order, Siemens having to get out of the way almost of everyone. Carmentelis has slipped all the way up there. He's out of DRS range, but he row runs in ninth. Zonoma coming at him, goes inside. That screaming Ben GS, that scream lunges Ben GS, and they touch once, twice, getting through the apex of the Sin S. Ben GS holds on, Zonoma through on Carmentelis. Kriko and Nathan JB swapping places in another manic safety car restart. Gary attacking Nathan JB, looking outside to Decina Delago, breaks incredibly late, makes contact on the entry, trying to go all the way around the outside. Can he pull it off? I think to the Ferradura. Nathan JB will hold on to the place from Gary, who's swarming all over the rear end. Slash now lunging Bumpier in the soft drain with the freshest tyres in the field almost. They touch once, twice again, and Bumpier getting the elbows out. Very aggressive defence against Slash. He holds on to it, and Sully has broken Timon. Timon slipping back. The tyres maybe just starting to betray him. Coxey staring down what may even turn into a potential race win. We'll see how this unfolds, but Sully's got the gap. Timon now struggling. Larkin now, you'd imagine, can get through. Sully's made up the gap, and Nathan, I'm sorry I've talked for 2 straight laps, but the action has been insane further down the field.
No worries, it's been absolutely manic. Sully, fastest lap of the race, he's absolutely flying. I mean, our pole sitter is now 15th. Like, that's how ridiculous this race has been. Feynman is a sitting duck against, like, I don't think Larkin will go for it here, although Coxey, he's burning all of his ERS, he's almost at 0%. It's Larkin and Feynman, Larkin's on the grass, the side side, and Coxey, something inside, and Coxey, he should have Larkin, yeah, he's going to back out very wisely. He's got more ERS than both of them, so yeah, if Coxey wins this, that would be ridiculous. Although I do think Sully, even though he does have 8 lap old tyres and a compound harder, Feynman, as Coxey sends it down the inside, Feynman's got to be really careful, obviously fighting for the title. As Nathan JB's crashed, I'm not too sure, although I think him and Gary have come together, and there's another safety car.
Another safety car deployed. Nathan JB out of the race. Yeah, it looked like it was Gary making contact.
They've been colliding a lot. Nathan JB was just very aggressive against that. Is Feynman pit? No, Feynman doesn't pit. Does Larkin pit? No. Yeah, everybody's staying out. I think maybe the soft runner, yeah, Zalnum in. Carmentelis stays out. Sieben, I expect Gary will pit again, but Feynman is being saved by these safety cars. Sully, I mean, I think he was at a 2-second gap. Obviously, with Coxey diving him at the end of Sector 2, but these last few laps, Feynman is going to be on eggshells with these tyres. They're going to feel horrible. There'll be 21 laps by the end of the safety car. I mean, he's going to be on, 29 lap old mediums by the end of the race. Feynman's going to have to really tread carefully with his throttle inputs. But, yeah, Larkin, I mean, it's got a lot harder for him because Coxey won't have as much of an advantage. Obviously, 9 lap old softs, they're going to start to feel a bit worse. Obviously, we saw the soft runners pit. Well, I mean, Feynman very early, but we saw most of them pit between lap 9 and 11. So, yeah, Coxey, he's in a very good position to win this. Obviously, with 10 lap younger and 8 lap younger, but it's just going to be how hard Feynman defends. I think Sully will pull away again, unless he can't find the pace he did before. But yeah, it's going to be. I don't think it's over between Feynman and Larkin. I think they're going to have at least one more battle.
You'd think so. Timon, though, he does have to be careful. Coxey, we know. We've seen him throughout this stint. He's going to throw everything at this. Timon, he may have to think about the championship. We saw him defending hard. He doesn't want to give this up, and he's perfectly within his right to do that. But Coxey has been so on it with the better tyres and just throwing himself at these drivers and making moves sticks. He's made the moves fantastically well at this stage. Timon will be very happy that the safety car has come out, though. He has just been spared as well by Coxey getting between himself and Larkin and not quite being able to get through on time. And Timon's defence there at the end of that stint has given him a fighting chance, but he still has the worst tyres in the field. And you can see the soft runners are only a few positions away, but Larkin is going to be vulnerable. Ben GS, of course, one of the last medium runners still out there. He is going to be very vulnerable early on with the attacks from Vast Scream, from Bumpy, from Slash, even Carmentalus. Carmentalus could even get amongst the Alfa Romeos. We'll see what he could do. Of course, it will be more difficult for the soft runners, but we'll see how things are going to unfold. We will get back to racing on this lap, hopefully. I do hope it is going to be a clear run to the checkered flag from here. Sully from Larkin. Sully has been the class of the field in this stint, has completely controlled it. The question is now, Timon, of course, has been able to just about work his way back in with these safety cars. Timon behind Sully. His tyres should be able to make the end now, fairly comfortably in fact, but he will still, even though it won't be quite as bad, he will still have that wear to deal with at the end of the stint. So Sully, Timon, Coxey. Coxey's going to throw everything at it then. If you're Timon here, are you defending for all you're worth and hoping Larkin gets held up in something, or are you just going to allow Coxey to get through, because Coxey is on a mission here?
Knowing Coxey, I am letting him straight through and seeing what happens with Sully, but it depends on Timon's mindset. Like, he's got his teammate and, well, at the moment, his closest championship rival with Commentalist not getting... Well, he might get 1 point, but yeah, I mean, Timon needs a good first lap here to just stick with Sully, otherwise it's game over.
And away goes Sully, and he's got a great jump on Timon here. Timon hasn't quite been able to react the same, and Coxey, though, does turn off the battery. Ben GS is looking at Larkin, and he's diving inside the turn one. He makes contact with him, and there's a huge pile up further down the field. Boubier caught up. Ben GS squeezed off the road, and his incidents already, the gaps have opened up. It's Boubier from Slash. Carmentalus through a Ben GS. Heartbreak late in the race for Ben GS. Boubier holding off Slash. Ben GS lunges Carmentalus, gets the move done, or does he? He's waiting to see the Delago, and Carmentalus face back to 7th. Wow, what a start again. It has been manic on each one of these restarts, and the top 4 now just have a bit of a gap to work with. It's Sully from Timon. Timon, does he have the tyres to stay with it then? They're all coming together further down the field. Gary has gone round out of Esse, and he recovers the car, but now out of contention, and you'd imagine, yes, that is going to be his championship over. At the penultimate round of the season, the gap between Sully and Timon is about the same as it was before, about 7-8 tenths of a second. At this stage, it wasn't the best exit from Timon, and the battery is being brought into use from everyone in this train. Here we go. Coxey is right there with Timon. Timon is going to cover this off for all his worth, but here comes Coxey, and Timon may well just let this one go to the inside. Coxey is P2, and he makes the move stick, and that may well be a smart move for Timon, but now Larkin is trying to chase him down. Slash, Boubier and Carmentalus. I said Carmentalus could get amongst the Alfa Romeos. It may well be the case. Here we go then, into the last few laps. Gary is going off. Gary has gone off yet again to the centre. Is it going to be potentially yet another safety car? We will see, as now it looks like it may well just clear itself, though it's still yellows in sector 1. Sully from Coxey. Coxey, a miraculous charge, but he's down on battery. Can he bring something together in his reserves? Larkin is going to go at Thyman here. You know he is not backing off, but Slash and Boomke and Carmentelis are also with this. Carmentelis somehow is still in this. Green flag's now back out on track. It's all cleared itself. Coxey struggling a little bit on this lap. Does he still have the tyres to get at Sully? Sully leads Coxey, leads Thyman, and now Slash right there with Larkin. So now the softs have re-established themselves, got themselves back in it. Slash now to the man on the mission. He's hunting down the man third in the championship.
The top 4 tyres are going to be screaming at them. I would not be surprised if even Slash ends up with them on the podium. Thyman, I don't know how. Oh, Thyman, is he? I know it's Coxey that's going to fall out of DRS. So yeah, Thyman, I mean Coxey, he's got no ERS left. So Larkin is going to have to just push on this lap as Carmentelis gets past Bumpy. Carmentelis up to P6. Was, I think, down at P16 at one point, but obviously the penalty will set him back to about P9 as Sieb gets past Benjias. Benjias really unlucky as he almost has a spin there, but yeah, Larkin all over the back of Thyman. I mean, there could potentially be 3 wide in turn 1, given the ERS levels and the DRS, but Larkin, I don't think is going to give any second doubts on having a go at Thyman and then trying to put a car out with Coxey. Although Coxey, sure, as long as he doesn't mess up this final corner, he might actually get DRS, and Thyman might fall out of DRS. We're going to just have to see through this final corner. Coxey, I think he's just missed out on it. Thyman just reaches it, but yeah, Larkin straight on the ERS. And yeah, Benjios has had a spin, and yeah, Slash all over the back of him now.
Here comes Larkin, up towards Thyman, towards the centre S. He goes round the outside, and Thyman tries to cover it off. Alfa Romeo side by side, and there's contact. Larkin is round! Larkin is round! And the Alfa Romeos come together on the 33rd lap. We maybe saw it coming early in the race, and Larkin off the road. What drama here! They've come together, and now Carmentelis has just been swapped. Zanua and Bouvier flanking the championship leader. Zanua has made a truly spectacular move to get to 5th, and he will now try and hunt them down. Could Zanua even end up right up there? Coxey's tyres are dropping. Thyman may well fancy a rally back after an incident with his teammate. We'll see what's going to happen in the steward's room, but here we go. They've made contact. The two Alpha try to cover it off. We'll see what the result is going to be, but I think both of those guys, neither of them were going to back down there. Now, Slash up behind Thyman. Can Thyman see it off? He has got nothing left. He is battled and he's bruised, but still holding on to 3rd with no battery left. Slash will try and set this up. 3 laps to go here in Interlagos. Behind, and Carmentelis continues to suffer. Sieb battling inside. He makes contact with the Alpine, who may well be almost on the fringes of the points, with a series of blows to his chances. He's out of battery. Slash is through on Thyman up the road, and there's nothing Thyman can do to hold it back. And now he's got to worry about Zanuma attacking from behind. Zanuma, though, lower battery as well with Thyman. Wow, what a finale we could have. Sully has driven absolutely imperiously from the front, and he may well be rewarded with a win. Coxey just can't quite match him at this stage. Slash is charging. Slash trying to make up the distance, make up the deficit. Can he make it in time? We will see in the dying stages here. Look at Zanuma's pace, though. He's chewing away at that gap to Thyman up the road. P4 and P5 on the track. Carmentelis has gone round Sully from Coxey from Slash. Please take over, Nathan. This is just astounding stuff out on track.
Yeah, Zaldema, I mean, he's got the freshest tyres by, well, he's a 20 lap younger tyres than Thyman. Thyman flashing his ERS. Slash over the back of Coxey now. Coxey, as much as Thyman, Slash, he's got a lot better run. He should go for it here. He should just have the momentum. Go to inside, and yeah, Slash will get this done. Coxey, I think the best bet for him would just stick with Slash on this lap, maybe even settle for P3, but yeah, Coxey, I mean, really good drive. Zaldema, he's come out of nowhere. Well, I mean, we were saying earlier in the session, or earlier in the race, that Carmentelis is somebody that is just there when incidents happen. Zaldema, I think we completely just wrote him off because he's just come out of nowhere. Like, P5, he's got the freshest tyres. I would not be surprised if he gets past Timon and maybe has a look at Coxey, but I think P4 could definitely be on the cards for Zaldemar here.
Yeah, he's right on the back of Timon. Timon has about 20% less battery. Zaldemar has saved that up. He's in anticipation, I imagine, of an attack from himself. And now that attack, the groundwork is being laid for it. So here comes Zaldemar now, attacking Timon. Timon has been in all the wars tonight. And here comes Zaldemar. It's on the inside, and it's pretty much no contest, I think. Timon doing all he can, but he simply cannot hold him back. Carmentalist sweeps past, and now also Bumpier being swapped. Seb has glided around the outside of Bumpier, and now Bumpier with fucking checking all over him then. It's a battle. Both these guys have 3-second penalties for 6th and 7th, so they are going to go at it out on track for that possession out there. And now fucking checking. Bumpier nearly runs into Carmentalist as he's centered on the inside. Fucking checking gets back underneath the Ferrari, and he's just about going to get through in the end. And now Kriko is on the outside, heading through Ferradura. They are side by side, heading in towards Zessi. Now to Pinarino, still going at it out on track. This is for P9 and 10 on the road, and Kriko gets through on Bumpier. In the end, AlphaTauri past Ferrari. Let's look though further up the order for this true moment of magnificence here from Excel Sully. He has, well, compromised on strategy by the safety car. He's seen off an advancing soft running train, but he is going to come through for his 3rd win of the season. Sully wins it into Lago. Slash a brilliant drive to second. Coxey just about holds off Zaldemar over the line. Time in 5th. Funky check-in, Bumpier, Carmentalist will get through the rest of the results in the end. Wow, what a race that was. Drama, controversy, action out there on track. That was an instant D2 classic then, a chaotic Brazilian Grand Prix, but one thing that was constant throughout that race, the absolute brilliance of XL Sully.
Yeah, XL Sully, I mean, we said this, well, even in quality, XL effect. Sully, I mean, I think at the start of the season, was I right, it was just fighting in the midfield. I'm not I can't remember. I don't think he was at the front, but yeah, the last few races, obviously, finishing P1 on track at China, and yeah, I mean, class of the field today, obviously, didn't have the quality pace compared to the likes of Steve, but in terms of just his racecraft and consistency, it was just unreal compared to, I mean, pretty much the rest of the field.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, yeah, that is, I mean, we've seen Sully, he's been a reserve throughout this season. Well, and let's be honest here, he's had, 7 call-ups now and 3 race wins. He's been remarkable, and a 2nd place finish to go along with that. We haven't seen much of him this season, but I think if he raced the entire season, the championship would have been his. He wins from Slash. Coxey by 19 thousandths of a second from Zaldemar. Those guys with great recovery drives through the field, using those safety cars to good effect. Time in his 5th. Funky check-in, Bumpier, Carmentalist, I think will be happy with 8th, given the way his race went. Seb, Kriko, that's Screaming Larkin, Benji S. Gary, Nathan JB, Marnix, Jaco, Calvin, Matt Tivos. They didn't see out the checkered flag in the end. So, wow, that was quite something going out there, out on track. It was quite scrappy, it must be said, and I think the level of safety cars didn't quite, maybe didn't quite work out the way that we would have hoped for in the end, but that was quite some action out there. Hopefully, Nathan, if you can get those guys in, that Sully, Slash and Coxey for podium interviews, we'll hear from those guys, and I think they'll have quite a bit to say, because, yeah, that race was pretty stunning. Yeah,
very stunning race. Where did Carmentalist finish in the end?
Carmentalist finished P8 in the end.
I can't add Sully because of his set. Do you have him as a friend?
Sully, I don't believe so, actually.
Okay.
So one of us may have to chuck him a friend request.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, I think, going into Abu Dhabi, you can't, obviously with Larkin falling down the order, and obviously I think Feynman will get a penalty for obviously the little incident between Larkin and himself, but it's not over. But it's, depending on the potential penalty, it's looking very almost done for Feynman, I'd say, maybe.
Well, I mean, it's so hard to say. Larkin, I mean, I guess we can, of course, hear from the Alpha Romeo guys on that incident, see what their views are going to be. There's not going to be much in it, though, but certainly between of course, the championship contenders, I don't think any of them have had the race that they wanted. Timon provisionally with the best results. We will see what happens in the stewards' room after things have all sorted themselves out in the end. So we will hopefully get these guys all in for podium interviews, and we can hear from them and their thoughts after that Grand Prix. We are just starting to get drivers in here now, so yeah, we'll just see if anyone else is going to get themselves in here. Yeah, I guess the championship picture still somewhat unclear. We will see how things are going to unfold. It was, yeah, very messy race out on track. I guess we can now get things started out as our race winner has managed to get himself in here. We do have all of our podium guys in the booth, I'm pleased to report. So, I guess we'll start with you, Mr. XL Sully. Wow. You were in a race where everyone else seemed to be scrapping, fighting, making contact. You seemed to be fairly composed, of course. I don't imagine you got the run you got in qualifying. So, talk us through how you tried to get yourself into that winning position.
Yeah, so cheers lads. Quali was terrible, to be honest. I thought I did a practice with the boys earlier in the week. We did 1 or 2 and I did 6.2, so I was confident enough with that. I just couldn't hook it up. So I think it was 3rd place, the 2 boys pit me at the end. And then from there on, I think Timon got me off the line, but the plan starting out the race was always to undercut. Now, Timon went very early. I wasn't sure how the tyres would last, so just to cover him off, I went a lap after. And that put me, I think it was net P2, which was probably the best position to be in once I caught him for the DRS. And then it was just, I got him and it was safety car after safety car, just trying to ace the restarts, and yeah, it worked out alright. Like, I was trying to just break DRS constantly. Now I broke it a second time and then there was another safety car, but no, it was a good enough race. The race was alright.
Yeah, and that is, well, the call-ups keep happening and you seem to keep on winning. You've won 3 out of your last 4 races now, and you've won in total throughout the division 3 of the last 6, so it's been quite remarkable. And somehow, again, despite you being a fringe reserve, you're actually in a fairly good position in the championship now. Obviously you won't be in a championship fight, but you've managed to work yourself in quite nicely. How do you evaluate the way things have worked out here? Because you've come home now with 3 race wins, and dare I say it, none of those wins came easily. So how do you evaluate things?
Yeah, it's good. Like, I'm just enjoying the race. Like, as I said, I did 1 or 2 practices with the boys. Now Brazil would probably be my best track in the game up there with Netherlands. So I kind of knew I'd be comfortable enough. Whatever, as I said, quali didn't go too well, but I knew my race pace would be thereabouts. So now I had ABS on as well, which helped. But yeah, I'm happy enough. Like, I know behind me was a bit, I don't know what, I heard there was bumping and whatever going on, but no, up front until actually I seen Slash coming out of the last lap, he came out of nowhere, I got a bit nervous, but I just about held on.
Yeah, well, what were you thinking in those last stint? Because we saw, well, everyone else that ran the standard strategy, you all got, in large parts, thanks to the safety cars, of course, swallowed up by the soft runners late on in the race, the medium starters. So, how anxious were you? Because you must have saw those guys that had tracked you for pretty much the entire race getting swallowed up, and all those soft runners filling up those spots behind you and trying to reel you in.
Yeah, like, I knew on the first safety car I had a good enough buffer with the boys on mediums, and then after that I wasn't really sure how, and then I think it was Coxie was the first soft runner that came back up on top 5s that I could see. But then, I don't know, his softs would have been fairly well on at that stage, so I wasn't too worried. I was just kind of, if I could break the DRS, it was touch and go him. I was like, if I could break that, I'll have him. But Slash came out of nowhere. I wasn't sure if he'd paid on the last safety car or not, so I wasn't sure how old or new his softs were. So he was the main one I was worried about once he got through.
Well, in the end, they did just about run out of laps. At the end of the day, congratulations, man. I'll hand over to you, Nathan. Do you have any questions for our race winner tonight?
Yeah, obviously, first, massive congrats, Sonny. I think class of the field tonight were just how consistent you were, and obviously your pace. Obviously, as a reserve, I think you're actually up to P6, even as a reserve. Obviously, with your 4 podiums and 3 wins. Do you think if you'd been at more races. You could have even been in a title fight, even as a reserve, or if you'd been a full-time driver. Do you think you would have had the pace over the rest of the grid throughout the season?
Maybe like it's hard to say. Like you can't really. It's like the few races I've done, one or two of them have been strong tracks for me, but over the course of the season that kind of levels out. So I would have had weaker tracks. Like I got lucky as well, and Lakes of China was a bit of a. That was a lot who could have won that. I just got the strategy right. So I know there's a few quick lads in there to be fair, but yeah, as I said, I just got lucky in one or two. Got the roll at least.
And also looking at Abu Dhabi, obviously, if you do get to reserve, do you think that would be a good race for you? Is it a strong track, and what do you think you could maybe get from it?
Yeah, I'm alright around Abu Dhabi. I'd be kind of average enough, but look, if I did do it, I'd probably be trying to get on the podium again at least. But look, we'll see next Saturday if I get the call up.
Yeah, we will see how that is going to unfold in the end. Congratulations, man. Yet another race win for yourself in the end. So well done to you, Sir Sully. So, looking elsewhere now, we can now, I imagine, hear from our second place finisher. That would be Mr. TTG Slash. Great late charge throughout that Grand Prix, it must be said. You managed to maneuver yourself quite nicely on strategy, I think, later on in the race. Just looking forward, because you were at the back of that medium train, run us through the sort of strategy call that you made throughout the safety car period that ended up working out brilliantly for you.
Yeah, initially, like, before everything started, when I was going for, like, to soft and mediums as usual, I was, like, quite shocked on everyone pitting so early, and I was thinking to myself, they can't take it to the end. They're gonna have to pit again. So I took all the way to lap 14 and then was in the queue, and the first safety car came out, and then I thought to myself, lap 17 is too early to go into the softs. So I just waited a few, and then if there was the next safety car, I'll go straight into pit stop because I had fresh softs with me. So it happened, and then I knew I was the back of the train of the medium runner, so I was going to get swollen up like easily in the next restart. So I pitted. And then I got quite lucky in the restart since everyone was on the inside, so I just went all the way around outside, and then, yeah, it went smoothly, and then Boompier was like the main person to get past, because he was like defending aggressively against me, and I don't know why, but yeah, once I got past him, it was quite easy to catch up to the leaders, since they were all still in mediums, and I think Coxie pitted lap 17, if I'm not mistaken, so his softs was gonna... So his softs was gonna struggle a lot in the end, so I got him, but unfortunately, like on the last lap, I was over here like crazy mad on the front right, so it was like 109, 110, so it was so hard to catch up to Sully, which was so annoying. But it's great I got podium now, since the last 5 races has been quite awful for me.
Yeah, of course. Up until now, the bulk of your points still came from that race win back in Portugal, but ultimately, a very good drive from you today, sir. What were your thoughts actually heading throughout that final stint? Because, you know, we saw yourself making up a lot of ground. Did you think at any point the race win might just about be possible?
I started to think on that around lap 32 when I was catching up to Larkin and Feynman, and then I was this close. I remembered when Feynman and Larkin were battling, I was this close to almost hitting Larkin's rear wing. So I was so lucky, but I lost like a second after that, so I had to catch up again. And then I knew I had to pass Diamond as quickly as possible on lap 34, because the gap to Sully was 2 seconds at the time. And then yeah, I tried to catch up as much as I can, but then the tyres were gone.
Yeah, so in the end, still a great drive through the field from yourself, then a great strategy call as well to put yourself in that position. Congrats to you, sir. Nathan, do you have anything to ask for our second place finisher tonight?
Yeah, obviously, big congratulations on me too. Just looking at standout, I think you've just creeped into the top 10. I think very close to Krika. Have you got any targets going into Abu Dhabi that you kind of want to achieve by the end of Abu Dhabi, or are you just happy to just see what Abu Dhabi brings?
The main target is just to finish in the top 10. If it's quite big, the gap for P11 to P from where I'm at, I might switch to no assist for the race, but if it's quite small, then I just go in with a line and then just have fun, really.
Yeah, I think you're either level with P10. I believe. Wait, was that Scream? Who I think had a little bit of a tough race. So yeah, I think you're either in the top 10 or like a couple points behind it. So yeah, definitely could get top 10.
Yeah, so we'll see how things are going to unfold at the final race in Abu Dhabi. Can't believe it, just one race to go in the season. Now we move on to our third place finisher, and dare I say it, probably the main event of the interviews. It is going. We're now going to hear from Mr. Ariel Coxey. Now, my friend. That was quite a show you put on for us in that final stint. First of all, I have to ask you, though, about that final lap and that drag race that you had from Zainuma just holding on. What are your thoughts?
I was terrified. I was prepared to die going across that line, if it had to be. Perfectly honest, I was like, Dan, one of us is going to crash here, okay? Because I'm willing to get this podium, because I need to be in this interview so I can tell people that I'm different gravy, okay? People need to know I'm different gravy. But yeah, it was terrifying, and I'm not gonna lie, I was sweating. I need to go for a shower after this because I stink.
Well, TMI, my friend. But just looking at that, of course, some of the moves that you pulled off, you were absolutely all in managing to pull those maneuvers off. What are your thoughts heading throughout that charge, and then how were the tyres at the head? Because it did seem like you just lost all grip in those last few laps.
Yeah, so obviously I qualified down at the bottom where I usually start because I'm terrible, just like Hayden. But, you know, and I thought, I'm just going to see what's going to happen. I was like, a safety car will probably happen because it's D2 and people get a bit excited and call the safety car. And I was like, it's not coming, and it came. I was like, right, I'm going to wing it, go on the softs. I was like, I know they can make it to the end, but I was like, it's going to be touch and go and how painful they were. And these safety cars just kept coming and coming. I was like, I'm squared. And on that final safety car, I think I was stuck behind the screen, and I was like, he's not doing the moves I want him to be doing. He needs to be sending it. He needs to be lifting the stamp and sending it. So I got past him on the restart, and I was like, here we go. I said to Aiden, I was like, you know what? Alfa Romeos, they're my aim. I'm going to get to them. Went straight past Sieb and Ben, and I was like, yep, bye-bye, jog on. And I just had these two Alfa Romeos in front of me, and I was like, this is it. They're getting it. I got past Larkin and the old man, he was washed up, so I was like, yeah, in a bit, mate, enjoy the wine. And I saw Feynman, and I was like, here we go, Feynman. Luckily, a safety car came for him, and I was like, okay. And then obviously, it came. It finished, and I was like, alright, I'm just going to send it. Sent it. And I thought, you know what, if I can keep on the back of Sully in his DRS, I'll be alright. But he just gapped me just that little bit on that. I think it was like, I was a tenth or half a tenth off getting there. Thinking, to be fair, that probably saved him. Because I think if I got within range, I could have launched it. But yeah, those last couple of laps, I was hanging on for dear life. But I saw Slash coming, and I was like, I've got nothing left here. I'm just going to have to hope my car is big enough and wide enough for these corners. But he got past. And I saw the old man Dan coming out of retirement, and I was like, Dan, get away from me. And obviously I saw him on the final corner, I was like, oh my god, my pad traction's not paid off here. And I was like, oh my god. I was burning the DRS till I finished, and I saw his little red arrows, and I was like, I guess start cutting across him, I'm going to have to go into a wall or something. Something's going to have to happen here. But luckily my little 9.6 wings paid off, and I out-dragged him, so, yeah, what can I say? Different gravy.
Different gravy. And, well, looking forward, we have one more race within the season. You have repeatedly mentioned that Abu Dhabi is your race. Are we going to be seeing you up here again next week?
Yeah, you might as well just, I'm just going to put reserve and pre-book this party for next week, because I'll be in here. Probably maybe a step or two above where I am right now, telling you how I'm, again, different gravy. And the D2 are lucky that I have a life, otherwise they'd all be screwed.
Well, Nathan, do you have anything more to add to our third place finisher tonight?
You little ABS. Well, congratulations, Ariel Coxey. Obviously, you are now close to Jake in the standings, so you know maximum push at Abu Dhabi to get that win. Obviously, during the race, were you like thinking of getting a podium? Because obviously you started, I think, 13th or 12th. But obviously, you made a few positions off on the opening laps. But yeah, did you ever think that like a podium was ever possible?
I come into the race with I'm either going to crash out on the first lap or I'm going to get a podium. There's no in between with me. And obviously I started 15th because obviously my quality pace is just immaculate. And I'm actually all right in the race. I think slow and steady just seems to be my way forward. I've noticed that. I've just like, this is for me. And obviously, people are getting a bit excited and crashing out. And then when the first safety car came out, I was like, you know what? I'm going to pit fresh softs. I've got fresh softs. I was like, I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to stay out and just hope for the best. I didn't think I'd get a podium. I was like, I'll take a top 10, maybe a top 8. And then when the safety cars just kept coming out and people just start monging it more and getting all excited, I was like, well, Fox has done this. And then once I got past the scream, my little roadblock, I was like, yeah, these medium runners are getting it. But then obviously XL Sully had the XL effect and just started smashing away from me, and I was like, you're going to get it. So I'll come from Abu Dhabi. I've got him, Gary, and all that lined up, so they're all dusted.
At Abu Dhabi, are you going to be someone that will get involved in the title fight, or will you just? I mean, it's a very, very stupid question because I know you, but will you be kind of nicer to the title contenders?
No, they can all get fucked. Foxy's going for the win. I don't care about no title fight. I've done my business. I'm basically like the best number 2 ever, but in Abu Dhabi, I'm pulling out the moves. They're getting it. Gary's getting it. He knows he's getting it.
Gary, I think actually did fall out of the title contention today.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put him even further down, so really scared anyway.
Well, yeah, congrats, man.
Alright, thank you very much. I'll see you all next week, lads.
See you then. Well, yeah, that was that. Congrats to all of our podium finishers. Well, that was quite a dramatic race, as we have alluded to. Quite a lot of carnage, action, just everything what you've come to expect from LOE Division 2. So I think that's going to be, well, just about it for all the action out on track for tonight. I'm going to come to you, Nathan, of course. First time we've had you in the commentary box for 2 seasons, as you said. What are your final thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, just happy to be back commentating. Obviously with the best commentator in LOE. Obviously it'll be sad to see you go after next race. Were you here from season 1? I'm very.
I started commentating regularly in season 3, but yes, you could say from season 1.
So yeah, good 3 games. But obviously, it's been a pleasure commentating with you for potentially last time. And yeah, it'll be obviously sad to see you go after Abu Dhabi, but. Yeah, D2, I think it's going to be a very good finale. I think D2 and D1 will probably be very tense. And it'll be just hopefully a nice, cleaner race at Abu Dhabi. And just let the best man win.
Absolutely. So we will see how that is going to unfold. Thank you all very much for tuning in to the stream. Be sure to tune in to the championship finale at Abu Dhabi next week, 8:10 UK time. Be sure not to miss it. So, I think for the 16th of 17 rounds throughout this season, Season 7 of Division 2, I think that's going to be just about everything all said and done for tonight. So, with everything in the books, 16 out of 17 rounds are all said and done. We look towards the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. So, for myself and Nathan, we will see you later. Until next time, we'll see you later. And yeah, make sure you're tuning in to that season finale. It's going to be a great one.